The story of Switzerland's evolving relationship with the United States rarely captures global headlines. Yet when two of the world's most stable and strategically influential economies redraw the lines of their trade engagement, the effects ripple far beyond their borders. Today, the spotlight turns to Bern and Washington, where a long-standing tariff dispute has been met not with escalation or retaliation, but with a carefully negotiated breakthrough, one that blends political pragmatism, economic opportunity, and a strong reaffirmation of national sovereignty. As the Swiss flag waves gently over Bern, it represents a country that has long positioned itself as a neutral but indispensable actor in global finance and trade. Its reputation for precision, stability, and high-value exports has made it a major player despite its small geographic footprint. But even Switzerland is not immune to the intense pressures of the changing international trade environment, where tariffs, retaliatory measures, and shifting alliances have reshaped global supply chains. The agreement announced between Switzerland and the United States marks a rare moment of diplomatic clarity in an era often dominated by uncertainty. At the heart of this development lies a significant shift in US policy, the reduction of tariffs on Swiss products from a steep 39% down to a far more manageable 15%. For Swiss industries, from pharmaceuticals and machinery to luxury goods and advanced manufacturing, this is not merely a symbolic concession. It is a structural one, promising expanded access to one of the world's largest consumer markets and easing the tensions that had threatened to hinder trade flows between the two nations. But trade agreements are never one-sided, and Switzerland's response is both strategic and ambitious. As Guy Parmelin, Switzerland's Minister of Economic Affairs, made clear in his public remarks, Swiss private sector firms are preparing to invest an extraordinary $200 billion into the United States by the year 2028. This staggering sum reflects not only confidence in the US economy, but also Switzerland's long-term commitment to deepening economic ties with Washington. Parmelin's words echo with the deliberate calm of Swiss diplomacy. He emphasized that the tariff concessions on the American side would be accompanied by a Federal Council ordinance to implement the regulatory changes required at home. The machinery of Swiss governance, precise, predictable, and often slow by design, was already in motion, ensuring that the agreement would not merely be a political announcement, but a fully executable policy shift. In his statement, Parmelin addressed a growing chorus of speculation emerging from parts of the media claims suggesting that Switzerland may have offered hidden compromises, perhaps even concessions that could weaken its economic independence or limit its capacity to maneuver in global markets. Parmelin pushed back firmly. Contrary to what has sometimes been reported in certain media outlets, he said, Switzerland has not made any concessions that would limit its sovereignty or its capacity to act in matters of foreign economic policy. His tone was not defensive, but assertive, reaffirming that this agreement stands on mutual interest, not unilateral submission. As the world watches Geneva's bustling commercial streets, where global brands like Rolex welcome visitors from every continent, Switzerland continues to embody the fusion of heritage craftsmanship and modern innovation. Tourists strolling through the Geneva Watch Fair may notice little change in their surroundings, yet beneath the surface, the Swiss economy is preparing for a new chapter, one tied increasingly to American markets, supply chains, and consumer demand. Trade agreements often carry implications far broader than tariff schedules and investment pledges. They can shape corporate strategies, influence hiring decisions, and drive research and development investments. The planned $200 billion Swiss investment into the United States represents not only a vote of confidence in American economic resilience, but a deliberate positioning of Switzerland within the shifting landscape of global production. Swiss multinational giants companies like Nestlé, with its globally recognized headquarters in Vevey, stand to benefit from new and more predictable access to the American market. Such firms already maintain a substantial footprint in the US, but the reduction in tariffs promises to accelerate expansion, streamline logistics, and perhaps even pave the way for new partnerships in technology, food production, pharmaceuticals, and consumer goods. For Switzerland, a country deeply integrated into global trade but bound by the constraints of a small domestic market, international agreements are lifelines. They provide the pathways through which its globally competitive products reach millions of customers. They ensure that Swiss firms can operate with clarity and stability in foreign jurisdictions. And critically, they allow the Swiss economy to maintain its trademark resilience, a trait rooted in its ability to adapt. The decision by the United States to lower tariffs to 15% marks a significant shift away from the protectionist stance seen in various periods of American trade policy. For Washington, welcoming $200 billion in incoming investment is a strategic gain. It signals confidence from international partners, reinforces the US's position as a hub for innovation and manufacturing, and supports job creation across diverse industries. While the White House has yet to publish the full details of the agreement, officials have signaled that the final terms will reflect a balanced framework, one that strengthens bilateral ties while safeguarding American economic priorities. What makes this agreement particularly notable is its tone. Rather than contentious negotiations or retaliatory measures, both sides have approached the dispute with a remarkably cooperative spirit. At a time when the global trade environment is often defined by escalating tensions and rhetorical confrontations, the Swiss-US agreement stands apart as an example of managed diplomacy, steady, detailed, and anchored in mutual respect. Walking through the streets of Bern, one can sense the quiet confidence that defines Swiss political culture. While other nations broadcast their achievements with fanfare, Switzerland often moves quietly, preferring process over spectacle. Yet this agreement, while understated, marks one of the most consequential trade developments between the two nations in recent years. The Federal Council's swift approval of the ordinance required to implement the tariff changes demonstrates the level of priority attached to this agreement. Switzerland's commitment to carrying out the necessary regulatory adjustments shows its recognition of the strategic importance of maintaining stable and predictable trade relations with the United States. The broader implications of the agreement extend into several key sectors. For Swiss manufacturers, the reduction in tariffs will ease the financial burden of exporting high-precision machinery, medical equipment, and industrial tools to American buyers. For the pharmaceutical and biotech industries, cornerstones of the Swiss economy, the new environment may accelerate partnerships with US hospitals, research institutions, and pharmaceutical distributors. Luxury goods, including Swiss watches, will also benefit. While the industry remains largely insulated from short-term fluctuations due to its high-income customer base, reduced tariffs can enhance competitiveness and open space for market expansion. Visitors admiring the Rolex displays in Geneva may not immediately perceive the impact, but suppliers, distributors, and international retailers undoubtedly will. In the United States, the influx of Swiss investment will affect regions differently. Tech hubs like Silicon Valley and Boston may see increased collaboration in biotechnology and advanced research. Manufacturing centers in states such as Ohio or Michigan may attract new industrial facilities or modernization projects. The sheer scale of investment, $200 billion, ensures that its impact will not be concentrated. It will be distributed across multiple sectors and regions. Yet, throughout all these changes, Switzerland is careful to frame the agreement not as a compromise of its autonomy, but as a continuation of its long-standing tradition of strategic neutrality paired with economic pragmatism. Parmelin's insistence that no sovereignty-limiting concessions were made is not merely a political defence. It reflects Switzerland's deeply held belief that economic policy must remain independent, flexible, and precisely calibrated to national interests. As the world anticipates the official release of the agreement's details from the White House, analysts and diplomats alike will examine the deal for clues about the future trajectory of Swiss-US relations. Will the agreement pave the way for broader cooperation in areas like digital services, environmental technology, or supply chain resilience. Will it strengthen Switzerland's role as a gateway to European markets for American firms? Or will it remain a narrowly framed trade settlement? Significant but contained? Switzerland's reputation for reliability ensures that many nations observe its agreements closely, not simply for their content, but for their method. The careful, measured approach, consultative, fact-driven, and anchored in institutional stability, contrasts sharply with the turbulence seen in other international negotiations. For Washington, working with a partner known for predictability and long-term planning offers strategic benefits that extend well beyond tariff reductions. In Vevey, where the Nestlé logo stands tall against the backdrop of Lake Geneva, the symbolism is unmistakable. A global giant rooted in Switzerland, operating in more than 180 countries, preparing to deepen its presence in the United States under a new economic framework. Such imagery captures the essence of the Swiss approach: global engagement, steady expansion, and an unwavering commitment to quality and innovation. Over the coming years, as Swiss investments multiply across the United States and American tariffs ease, the practical benefits of this agreement will become increasingly visible. Factories will expand, partnerships will grow, and both nations will find new avenues of cooperation. What begins as a diplomatic announcement will evolve into tangible outcomes: jobs created, products traded, and technologies exchanged. Yet even as these economic dynamics unfold, Switzerland remains vigilant in protecting its political autonomy. The reaffirmation of sovereignty, clearly emphasised by Parmelin, signals that Switzerland engages with global powers not through dependence, but through deliberate, mutually beneficial collaboration. The story of this agreement is ultimately a story of balance, balancing national interests with international obligations, balancing economic ambition with political independence, and balancing trade liberalisation with the realities of global competition. It is a narrative that underscores how modern diplomacy, when conducted with precision and foresight, can transform challenges into opportunities. As Swiss and American officials continue coordinating the agreement's entry into force, the world watches closely. In a time defined by shifting alliances and uncertain economic trajectories, this trade agreement stands as a rare example of steady, rational cooperation. It is a reminder that even in a turbulent global landscape, diplomacy, when grounded in clarity, respect, and long-term vision, remains one of the most powerful tools nations possess. And so, as the Swiss flag continues to flutter over Bern and the bustling streets of Geneva welcome visitors from across the globe, Switzerland enters a new phase in its relationship with the United States, one built on investment, transparency, and a renewed commitment to shared prosperity. The agreement may be bilateral, but its implications reach far beyond borders, reminding the world that constructive diplomacy is not only possible but essential in shaping the economic future that lies ahead.